It's the horrifying footage that will haunt you forever. 6 elderly Jews, age 67 to 88, set ablaze by a makeshift flamethrower while peacefully rallying for Israeli hostages. Their attacker, an illegal immigrant terrorist who should have never been in America. But this massacre isn't just about one monster with Molotov cocktails screaming Free Palestine. It's about the Democrat politicians who called for violence, who demanded Republicans no peace, who fantasized about assassination. What happened in Boulder was inevitable when you opened borders to jihadists while encouraging political violence. The blood is on their hands. Watch and remember who enabled this terror, and we're going to break it all down. While Democrats call for violence and import terrorists who burn our elderly, your children face a different threat: leftist indoctrination in schools. The Tuttle Twins magazine teaches kids real economics, liberty, and personal responsibility through engaging comics and activity. As Boulder burns from Biden's open borders, arm your children with truth about freedom, free markets, and why America must be defended. Don't let schools brainwash them into hating their country while terrorists attack our streets. You can subscribe for just $56 a year at TuttleTwins.com/next. I'm a subscriber. My family loves them. You can get them for your kids, your grandkids, because remember, freedom is only one generation from extinction. Protect your kids' minds before it's too late. Now, before we examine the Boulder terror attack, Americans need to see exactly who encouraged this violence. Democrats didn't just oppose Trump, they explicitly called for blood in the streets. Watch this. This is Illinois Governor Pritzker demanding that Republicans cannot know a moment of peace through mass protests and disruption. Watch.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now. That we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. Those words aged like poison when Boulder started burning. But Pritzker was just the beginning. This shocking montage reveals the systematic Democrat campaign of violent rhetoric, from Hakeem Jeffries calling to fight in the streets to celebrities fantasizing about assassination. Watch the proof of who really incites violence in America. Watch.
We are going to fight it legislatively. We are going to fight it in the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
Press always asks me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school, I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish.
If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
I'll meet him in a hotel room any other day of the week and give him a Louisville Slugger. Kiss my mother ass, you bitch punk sucker.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
When they go low, we kick.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
It's an actor dressed to look just like President Donald Trump as he's assassinated on stage. Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
Yes! I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
We are watching a rally right now. Former President Trump was just in the middle of a speech when what sounded like possible shots were fired. We saw the former president take cover.
Breaking news, former President Donald Trump is safe and a 20-year-old shooter is dead after a shocking assassination attempt on the former president in Pennsylvania.
We begin tonight with the breaking news and the second assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
He is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Let me give you one bottom line. As a former government official, government's going to kill this guy.
He needs to be shot. Stop.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Boy, Michael Bloomberg is so upset that it came out that his gun control group are the ones behind the onion and the lawsuits and all of it, trying to shut down InfoWars. And remember, back in November, they said that they owned it, trying to kick us out of the building. The judge overrode it. It wasn't true.
Fight in the streets, blow up the White House, put a bullet in Trump, and they call us extremists. The violence Democrats encouraged came home to roost at the Capitol Jewish Museum. 2 Israeli embassy staff were shot and killed by Elias Rodriguez, a 30-year-old who absorbed years of leftist hate. Watch this brief but brutal report.
No. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
2 embassy workers dead because Democrats normalize violence against anyone supporting Israel. Now to Boulder and the terrorist who should have never been here. Mohamed Sabry Soliman entered LAX on August 27, 2022 on a tourist visa. He was supposed to leave by February of 2023. Instead, Biden's non-enforcement let him disappear into America. Now, here is a comprehensive report from the FBI. Watch.
We're early in the investigation, but some details have emerged. I'm able to confirm there are 6 victims, ages 67 to 88. All of them have been transported to local hospitals. This attack happened at a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event. Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell, "Free Palestine," during the attack. The subject has been identified as Mohamed Sabry Soliman, and he's 45 years old. The FBI is processing the crime scene and the subject vehicle and interviewing key witnesses. We're assisting Boulder police in providing technical, analytic, and additional forensic resources. As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism. Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across the country. This is an example of how perpetrators of violence continue to threaten communities across our nation. It's our job, the FBI, the Boulder Police, and our law enforcement and community partners, to bring these criminals to justice and keep our communities safe.
6 elderly Americans burned alive by an illegal who overstayed during Biden's open border free-for-all. Fox News confirmed the reporting with senior DHS sources. Soliman is an Egyptian national here illegally, authorized to stay through 2023 but never left. Watch as they reveal how Biden's refusal to enforce immigration laws enabled this massacre. Watch.
And Paul, you have talked tonight quite a lot about wanting to know about who this individual is, what about his travel, what about his background. And we can break to our viewers now, per 3 senior DHS and ICE sources to Fox, according to our colleague Bill Malusian doing some great work, that he is an Egyptian national who is in the U.S. illegally because of a visa overstay who came during the Biden administration. Mohamed Sabry Soliman first flew into the U.S., according to these three sources of the DHS and ICE, flew into the U.S. on August of 2022 at LAX. He was authorized to stay through 2023, but never left. A little bit of more details coming into this, but you were very interested to learn as much as you can about Soliman's background.
Yeah, and, so obviously one of the talking points is going to be the fact that he would not have been here and should not have been here if we were actually enforcing our immigration laws. I think for the purposes of the investigation now and the prosecution and what charges are brought, et cetera, what they're going to be particularly interested in is any of the contacts that he had back home. He's here now. It's about 3 years. So any conversations he had back then may or may not be pertinent. But was he reaching back home? Was he in contact with bad elements overseas? These are the things that those U.S. attorneys that spoke at the press conference and the DA, they're going to be looking at very hard so they can figure which way to go with this investigation. And look, this guy's going to be heavily charged. In a way, it almost doesn't matter. He's going to be heavily charged. He's going to be locked up for life. What we really need to do is to look at why it happened, how it happened. Those are the things that are really more important. And actually, some of them are outside the purview of investigators and the police. And the fact that we have the stuff going on these campuses and that the administrations, whether it's Columbia or Harvard or any of them, seem to just shrug. These are the things that I think as a society, more importantly, we have to be looking at.
And officials saying that this cannot happen, will not happen. Again, Paul Morrow, former NYPD inspector and Fox contributor. Paul, thank you for your insights. So helpful tonight.
There you have it. Fox confirming he was here illegally. He should have left. But of course, it was all because of Biden's open borders free-for-all. He wouldn't have been here if we enforced our laws. Those 6 elderly victims would still be with us. MSNBC immediately went into cover-up mode, playing dumb about when he arrived and whether he was legal, after originally calling him a white male. Watch their pathetic attempt to memory hole that this was an illegal immigrant terror attack. Watch.
Sure, Chris. So this individual is a Egyptian national. Not clear immediately when he arrives in the United States. We're still working on that, and whether or not he is still allowed to be in this country, and whether or not he came into the country legally, and whether or not, if he did come into the country legally, if he was still allowed to be here. In other words, did he overstay a visa, or was he here legally and arrived legally? Those are all the details we're still trying to figure out. We have enough experience doing this, so we know that sometimes those records can be a little bit difficult to kind of pull all together. Some of the other things that we're learning, and I really do need to stress, it's early in this investigation, and all this information may change as investigators continue to pour through the records that they can find, be able to get their search warrants out there and do the type of work that they need to do. But at this early juncture, he does have some social media accounts, but we're told that those accounts really don't reference today's events and don't have some sort of specific ideology. So sometimes we've seen in the past people conduct attacks, extremist attacks, all sorts of different ideologies, and there you can see a specific time period where they start to kind of espouse those views. You can see other times where they start to speak specifically about an
Okay, so they knew exactly when he arrived and that he's illegal. They just don't want Americans to know that Biden caused this. And the horrifying details emerge. He used a flamethrower and Molotov cocktails while screaming, "Free Palestine." This is the raw footage of pure jihad on American soil targeting elderly Jewish people at a peaceful rally held for hostages held by Hamas. Watch.
We're here, brother. We're here. We can't do nothing about that. We can't do nothing. We can. Not here. You have to answer this. Not here, bro. You're not.
People taking video right now. He was wearing an orange suit with like something on his back. Spraying alcohol. Spraying alcohol, but what he did was he made it look like he was here.
He's making Molotov cocktails.
So he was wearing orange like a landscaper to blend in, armed with accelerants and fire, premeditated jihad terrorism. The FBI finally admitted what we all knew. This was targeted terrorism. Here's more from the press conference confirming he yelled "Free Palestine" while torching innocent elderly Americans. The victims aged from 67 to 88 years old.
I'm able to confirm there are 6 victims, ages 67 to 88. All of them have been transported to local hospitals. This attack happened at a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event. Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell "Free Palestine" during the attack. The subject has been identified as Mohamed Sabry Soliman, and he's 45 years old. The FBI is processing the crime scene in the subject vehicle and interviewing key witnesses. We're assisting Boulder police in providing technical, analytic, and additional forensic resources. As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
Free Palestine while burning the elderly. That's Biden's America, where illegal terrorists fulfill Democrat death wishes. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Boulder proves everything we warned about has come true. Democrats spent years calling for violence, demanding Republicans be attacked, fantasizing about assassinations. They opened our borders, welcomed jihadists, and called it compassion. Now 6 elderly Jews lie in hospital burn units because an illegal immigrant terrorist acted on their rhetoric. This is not isolated, it's systematic. From the Capitol Jewish Museum murders to Boulder's flamethrower jihad, Biden's America is under attack by the very people Democrats invited in. They called Trump voters domestic terrorists while importing actual terrorists who burn our elderly alive. The media tries to hide it. MSNBC calls Egyptian jihadists white males, but Americans see the truth. Every illegal immigrant crime, every terror attack, every burned victim, that blood is on Democrat hands. So here's what we should ask right now. Should every politician who called for violence be held accountable for Boulder? Yes or no in the comments. If you want to support our work here at the Next News Network, just head on down to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and grab a hat and wear it proudly.